Liverpool has one of the oldest Chinese communities in Europe. 78-year-old Judy's father was one of the 20,000 Chinese seamen working for the British Navy during World War II. She's hoping DNA can reveal why he disappeared without a trace. Why don't we start with you telling me what your question is?
Well, my father, Chiang Kai-shek, came from China to help the British during the Second World War and disappeared when I was about 18 months old. I don't know a lot about my dad, but people say that he adored me. All I knew is that he was a seaman and he worked for the Blue Funnel Line. All the Chinese were here during the war to help bring food into Liverpool. We were a very, very close-knit community. But one day, my dad disappeared. When I got a bit older, my mum did explain to me what had happened that night, that he hadn't come home. And other of her friends' husbands, they hadn't come home. And they were hysterical because they were running around looking and asking other people, do they know where he is? All his clothes were still there and everything, all his belongings, everything, you know. As I got older, Mum said the British government decided there was too many Chinese seamen and they needed to get rid of some of them. So they'd been picked up and put into vans, and then they were taken down to the Mersey and put into big ships and taken out into the Atlantic, and that was it. How can they do that? 250 to 300 went missing that night.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
So they just never came home?
No.
So after they'd worked incredibly hard, set up a home here, established a family, they were then forcibly deported and the wives and the kids were offered no explanation in terms of what's happened to their husband or dad?
Nothing. Not a thing. I know.
How did your mum react when you would sort of try and talk about your dad and talk about what had happened?
Well, after a while, we never really spoke about it because she thought he was dead, you see.
So it was her belief, your mum thought that
They were taken down to the Mersey, put into ships, taken out to the Atlantic and blown up.
Who told her that?
It just went round that that's what had happened, you know.
Hellish experience.
Yeah.
And sort of sat here now, Judy, what do you think happened to your dad?
I don't know. Because there was a lot of talk in the Chinese community saying the ships weren't blown up. They just took them back to China, and that was it. So who would you believe? I've always felt very connected to my Chinese side, and I'm really proud of being half Chinese. I always think, what happened to my dad? Always. It's there at the back of your mind all the time, really. How nice it would have been for him to be here to see us. Particularly when I got married, I thought, oh gosh, my dad would be proud of me if he could see me here. My husband passed away not so long ago, and one of the last conversations I had with him, it was about finding my dad, and he just said to me, go for it, Jude. You've come this far, go for it.
Good luck, Mum.
Thank you.
Come on in. Come sit down.
Thank you, too.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
It's lovely to see you again. So when you first
go.
came to us,
Yes.
it was essentially to try and find out about your father.
Yes.
You told us this really quite heartbreaking story about how your father was essentially taken away in the night when you were about 2 years old.
Yeah.
So let me take you through the DNA results. So of course, China is a huge country. It's 39 times the size of the UK. And it has over 50 different ethnic groups.
Yes.
So across this huge expanse, what we're trying to do is use the genetic matches to narrow down where your paternal family is from. And we can tell you they're from around Ningpo and Shanghai.
Shanghai, I thought it
In
would be Shanghai.
eastern China. So these are port cities, just like Liverpool.
Been to Shanghai once.
Have you?
Years and years ago. That's amazing, that, to think that, well, at least I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second thing we're doing is we're looking to see if you're getting any DNA matches that suggest that you have a common ancestor.
Yeah.
Meaning they're related to your father or descended from him, and he therefore made it back. And really, sadly, there was nothing close enough to be family.
Nothing.
That being said, these databases are growing all of the time. More and more people, particularly of Chinese heritage, are becoming extremely interested in DNA tests. So because you've taken this step, though there's nobody on the databases at the moment, somebody could take a test who's related to you. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, 2 years, and we'll be able to see them.
It mightn't happen in my lifetime, but they might find out in the end. My children might find out in the end. So I'm just glad I've opened that door.
I know one of the things you were really worried about was these horrible stories about how some of the ships that were used for repatriation, they were sunk. We have had specialist researchers working for us as well, going through the historical documents.
Yes.
And they've been, going through the National Archives, looking for the name that you've given us, Chang O Chiang.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, it's been a huge amount of work. And one of the most shocking things they found was how little is accurately recorded on these documents.
Oh, right.
People's names weren't translated properly, or even on one record, the names of the European passengers are given in full, but the Chinese seamen are just recorded as cargo. I mean, it's such a shameful part of our history, what happened to these people.
Yeah.
But what they found is shipping records. The researchers have looked at every single ship.
Yeah.
And we can see from the records that all of the boats that were used for repatriation made it back after these journeys.
Oh my goodness.
And were later retired or decommissioned at a much later date.
They weren't sunk.
No, you can find them in the records. We know what happened to the boats.
Ah, right. Okay.
So it's highly likely that he made it back to China. So you can lay that to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Tui, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do you know what? I'm so glad. I really am so glad that the boats weren't sunk and we did make it back to China. I hope he had a life. Maybe not the life he wanted, you know what I mean? But he had a life, so that makes me feel better inside. And I'll tell the grandchildren that because they'll be made up as well. And my own children, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You fill that big gap.
Good.